like where you actually get to share the faith in a real way with someone and get to talk to God with them. It's just very beautiful because that's not the norm. Like the norm is just daily life and you're just looking and doing the things, being faithful. But every so often you just get like a bit of like a thin veil moment where it's just almost like you're so close to heaven. I had a lot of struggles growing up with people that like my peers and just not really relating to them well, not fitting in very well. And that really just put a bit of a hindrance on my ability to be open with God because it taught me to not be so open. And so in a relational sense, when it comes to God, I was very closed off. And what he's been inviting me into is just a vulnerability, just this openness. Because I'm open, because I'm finally able to be vulnerable with him, it informs my identity as a beloved son. And then that informs the mission of everyone is called to this. Everyone is called to this intimacy. And we can't get there unless we're vulnerable. And how can you get someone to be vulnerable unless you model it first? So that's how it just like lines up. My spiritual director just kind of looked at me, just said, I'm just kind of sensing this, getting this sense of belovedness. And I need you to know that you are God's beloved. And what would it look like if you lived that way? Like, what would it look like if you go back to your dorm tonight, like just walking across this campus? What would it look like to walk as his beloved? And that was just earth-shattering to me because it just like took everything away. It made me realize just how much I worry about other people and what they think of me. And really, like, all I need to worry about is what God thinks of me. And he already has made up his mind and he finds me lovely. And so why should I operate out of anything but that? Yeah. I think the hardest part for me to accept in my relationship with God is that he loves me in my brokenness, and that like every part of me that's just not integrated, that's just not in communion with him, but there's no condition to his love. And that's hard to really understand, you know, because all we've ever known is competitive models of love in our life. And so I think the hardest thing for me is to just rest in his love when I feel very unworthy of it. I think to encounter Christ means to enter into a relationship with the most personal being, like God himself, like who all just like personhood comes from. And he just desires this like relationship. He desires this intimacy that's more intimate than even just like the marriage of a husband and wife. That's what he calls me into. So he calls all of us into, is just this love, just this intimacy. And like that is the encounter that I've had with him and that I continue to have with him every day.